Imagine this. You meet someone who literally commands the sky to rain, tells the earth to grow crops, and even appears to bring the dead back to life right in front of your own eyes. It sounds crazy, right? Well, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into part 3 of our series on Islamic end times events, and we're looking at the sheer, mind-boggling scale of the deception that the source texts describe. So would you believe him? It's a really heavy question, because the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, warned us that millions of people actually will fall for this deception. That stark warning right there sets the absolute stakes for the rest of our explainer today. We're talking about a massive, unparalleled illusion.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Section 1. The Grand Deception and Incredible Speed. A huge part of what makes this whole thing so effective is just the sheer physical capability described in the texts. When Dajjal is released, the sources say he's going to travel across the world with absolutely terrifying speed.
To really picture this, listen to the striking imagery the Prophet used. He described Dajjal's movement as being like clouds driven by the wind. I mean, it's sweeping, it's relentless, and it's totally inescapable. You can totally imagine how people are going to be absolutely amazed and, probably terrified by what they're seeing.
But here's the thing. The texts are incredibly careful to frame exactly how this should be understood. These unbelievable feats, they aren't a display of actual divine power. They're a severe test. It's a trial for humanity that is specifically permitted by Allah. And honestly, understanding that distinction is the absolute key to surviving the deception.
Which brings us to our second section, the ultimate test and the illusion of power. See, the sources explain that Dajjal won't just be some distant, mysterious figure. He's actually going to approach communities directly and call upon people to believe in him as their Lord.
And this perfectly illustrates just how severe this trial really is. It's the ultimate manipulation of our basic material needs. Because if people follow him, he'll command the sky to send rain, the earth will produce crops, and their livestock will come back healthy and totally full. He's offering instant, on-the-spot prosperity. But if they reject him, they face immediate, devastating hardship and famine. Because of that extreme dichotomy, you're looking at a literal choice between your family's immediate survival and severe starvation. So the texts explicitly point out that many weak believers may be tempted. The pressure to conform to this deception is going to be heavily driven by just a raw, desperate need for physical survival. Which brings us to a really vital concept we need to define here. Extraordinary acts. These are impossible feats allowed by Allah specifically as a trial for humanity. We really need to remember why having deep faith and knowledge of this specific event is so absolutely crucial. Just because something looks miraculous or defies the laws of nature absolutely does not mean it's actually from Allah.
So, with the stakes literally this high, we have to shift our focus to empowerment. Let's look at Section 3, How to Protect Yourself, with prophetic advice. The sources don't just leave us with doom and gloom. They give us very specific solutions and protections taught by the Prophet.
The texts give us 3 super clear, actionable steps for protection. Step 1, believers are instructed to memorize and recite the first 10 verses of Surah Al-Kahf. Step 2, we're taught to actively seek protection from Dajjal in every single prayer. And step 3, if he actually appears, the advice is incredibly simple. Just stay away from him entirely.
So, the crucial point we have to take away from this is that overconfidence is super dangerous. The texts explicitly warn us that even a strong believer, someone who thinks they can handle the debate or just see right through the illusion, even they can be deceived by his trials. Complete physical avoidance is presented as the absolute best defense. But hey, it's not all grim. Let's move to Section 4, the safe havens and guarded cities. The sources also share some really reassuring news about the geographical limits placed on Dajjal's reign of terror. There are actual places he simply cannot go. Despite his incredible wind-like speed and this massive illusion of power, Makkah and Medina are entirely off-limits. The Prophet stated that angels will physically guard both of these cities, so no matter how hard he tries or what crazy illusions he conjures up, he simply will not be allowed to enter these safe havens.
Let's move to our 5th and final section and see how this builds up. What happens next? The final battle. Because Dajjal's reign, as terrifying and globally disruptive as the sources describe it, won't last forever. There is a definitive end to this deception.
Which leaves us with a really dramatic question. After spanning the globe, causing famines, and tricking millions of people, who is actually going to finally defeat him?
While the texts point directly to the pivotal role of Prophet Isa, or Jesus, in these upcoming events. But how exactly will his return to Earth unfold? And how does his presence counter that massive grand deception we were just talking about?
And ultimately, what is going to happen in that final battle? We are going to discover the incredible resolution to this whole narrative in Part 4 of our explainer, where we'll firmly ground all of these upcoming events in authentic sources like Sahih Muslim, Sahih Al-Bukhari, and Sunan Abi Dawud. Until then, I want to leave you with this to think about. If the ultimate illusion of power appeared tomorrow, offering you literally everything you ever wanted, would your knowledge be strong enough to just walk away?